Hi there.
See
I
that.
am the CRM Ninja, and on today's episode of the Oops Factor, I have Aaron Ralls. Welcome to the show, Aaron.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here, and thank you for reaching out to me. So,
It was
uh,
it was great. I mean, somebody with the title Chief Technical Penguin. I mean, I've seen lots of penguins, right? But I've never seen a technical penguin. I imagine that penguin know with a calculator or something or tap flippers on the keyboard. It just doesn't. So I
well,
had
this
to
is
talk
this
to you.
penguin has like a mainframe or cloud computing capabilities. So no, I have to really give credit to Dr. Melissa Sassy for creating the title, and it spawns from other individuals, Microsofties or ex-Microsofties or kind of other mascots that are out there, like Teddy Rex and Octocat and different individuals. And so Penguin being part of Linux icon and foundation of IBM, it was spun up like, let's go ahead and create fun titles for ourselves, but they're engaging, catch people's attention. And so since I lead the technical engagement for 100 startups, it kind of made sense because my role typically maybe is a virtual CTO, technical program manager, or a cloud solution architect, or just somebody to kind of hear their story, their pain points, and help get them through startup life.
Right. So, for somebody so technical, I understand, as per my picture behind me, you have a passion for cooking.
I do. I'm originally from New Orleans, Louisiana,
Oh,
and so that's why you'll see my Twitter handle is Cajun AA from my first name, Aaron AA, and then Cajun because a lot of people, when you're from New Orleans, they think automatically you're Cajun. No, I'm not really Cajun, but I was taught, or everybody's kind of the culture that you're taught how to cook. And
yeah.
I love being away from the city for so long, so many different years. I've always had to cook my own Cajun flavors of gumbo, jambalaya, fried fish, etc., and make those available wherever I'm at in the world away from home.
I must say, I'm thankful I've already eaten, else I would be really hungry at the sound of that.
Yeah, so sometimes it's simple stuff, sometimes it's fancy. Maybe not Michelin star worthy, but definitely, cause you to overeat.
So, what would you say if you could choose any of the recipes either you grew up with or that you've experienced, through your years? What would you say would be your favorite recipe to cook if you didn't have a problem with any ingredients and equipment?
Oh, favorite one to cook is probably a rather simplistic one. It's stuffed artichokes. I don't know if you know what an
Ah,
artichoke is.
I
So
do
a lot
indeed.
of people will take an artichoke and it's just kind of got these big leaves on them and it's kind of hard. And a lot of times in the store you'll see a can of artichoke hearts. You might put in
Yep.
salads or different things. And a lot of people just take them and boil them, maybe some light seasoning, and then dip them in a ranch or olive oil type solution. But in New Orleans area, there is a kind of heavy Italian influence, and so my great great grandmother, who is 100% Italian from Sicily, had, and it's a common recipe there, is stuffed artichokes. And so what you make is a mixture, equal parts of Parmesan cheese, Italian breadcrumbs, and then you throw in some minced garlic, and you make this kind of
Ah,
stuffing mixture where it's really, and the olive oil makes it really stick like a glue. And so you boil the artichoke first, then you pack all the leaves, and it kind of expands out to almost 3 times the size once you have it fully packed. And then you sprinkle a little lemon juice on top with a fresh slice of lemon on top, and you bake it for about 30 minutes. And so the breadcrumbs become crispy, the cheese melts just a little bit, and then when you pull it out, you pull the leaves off. Everything kind of crumbles, and on the leaf is the stuffing, the mixture, and you just
nice.
kind of put in your mouth and you scrape it off with your teeth, and you get a little bit of the artichoke, what they call meat, it's the leaf substance you eat, and it's just heavenly. It's super easy, super rich and tasty, and sometimes we'll make that as dinner with
It sounds very
nothing else.
filling.
Yes, very filling, not very healthy because it's not a lot of protein. You got all the olive oil, but really great to make.
That is true. But I mean, Italian breadcrumbs and Parmesan cheese and stuff definitely combines together to get a very, very filling experience in that.
So that's
Brilliant.
probably my favorite.
Okay. And how many? I'm assuming people will ask you to cook for them Cajun style cooking at times.
Oh, several. My current wife, when we first met, she had a love of New Orleans when she lived there after Katrina, one of the big storms and stuff. And so, yeah, all the time, especially being away from home. Oh, can you cook us Cajun food? Often, all the time.
What's the largest number of people you've ever had been asked to cook for?
I did for a big company potluck. I made a huge, huge vat of gumbo that was probably for enough to feed 50 to 60 people. And
Nice.
gumbo is a big soup, so it's really easy to support a large number of people who want to eat it. You don't have to plate everything individual. It's a big, big deep soup bucket that it takes a while to cook if you want to do it as best as possible. It starts by
True.
making your own fresh vegetable stock and simmering that for several hours and straining it, and then and you create a roux and you mix in what we call the Trinity, which is diced onions, bell peppers, and of course I'm forgetting another part of it. There's another vegetable you mix in, and you saute that in, and then you slowly add your stock in to kind of make your soup base. And it can be mixed with different seafood, shrimp, crab, uh, and chicken, or sometimes even turkey gumbo, and different types of spicy sausages. And then you can pour that over a white rice.
Nice. Nice. Well, I'm not going to ask you any more about food because I'm starting to get hungry again. So moving on from Cajun cooking and all the wonderful delicacies to the oops factor, what story do you have to share with us today?
So stories about, failures. Um, One is, I can give you one basic finance story, kind of self-investing, self-care in that area is when I grew up in a family that didn't have lots of money. And
Okay.
so when I started in tech, making decent money, if I had money, I just spent it. I didn't, and I'm still not great at this. Tend to spend what I have and kind of live for today and not worry so much about tomorrow. So I'm always working on trying to improve upon saving for my future. It's easy to kind of do 401k things and those kind of things, but going beyond that and learning about all the different financial tools you have available today, newer ones like cryptocurrencies and investment options there, but also old fashioned, just savings account, how to utilize credit cards, and any kind of branches out into all the financial aspects of credit monitoring, credit scoring, how does that work, and the impacts of that. And the decisions that you can make that are poor of not paying a bill on time. How do you correct that? How do you get over that? And how can life choices like divorce impact your ability to maintain those things? I've been through that, and I've had my credit and finances wrecked because of those uh, those things I've been through. And so I've constantly being through a battle of doing better and living in the moment, doing better and living the moment. So what I would say is, in a nutshell, is always pay yourself first in as many ways as possible. Move that
Okay.
money out of your everyday living account and put that in a place for a longer term, well balanced investment of risk that meets your overall, tolerance level. Everybody's a different tolerance level of risk they're willing to do, but also have a portion of it that you maybe want to control and play with. Maybe you don't want to be a day trader on your entire portfolio, but maybe take $100 a paycheck or 50 and kind of build up something and use Robinhood or use pro.coinbase.com to dabble in some of the cryptocurrencies and other capabilities that are out there to force you to learn more about it instead of just setting it, forgetting it, and letting somebody else be an expert. ways that has helped me out is learning about financial products and helping, like I work with startups today. So there's several that are financial based. So learning about cryptocurrencies, blockchain technologies, and basic financial practices and tools allows me to have a wealth of business industry knowledge in that sector. It's not the only sector, but that's kind of just as important as learning maybe JavaScript or C sharp or any kind of specific technology is your business knowledge worth.
So for somebody, say, starting in the somebody younger than us,
Mm-hmm.
right, who's starting in the industry today, and knowing, of course, the challenges of the world around us, because I'm in London, I know you're in the USA and
Yeah.
such, the rents are high and buying property can be off the scale. What would your advice be, apart from obviously, make sure that you pay, your rent first and other stuff like that, but if you could go back in time to give your younger self advice, what other things would you tell them?
I would say figure out based upon what you make and your net income after covering your government, federal kind of agency taxes you have. What is know that net amount you have, and then figure out what percentage you want to pay on major areas. What do you want to pay on rent? What do you want to pay for transportation? And what do you want to pay for fun? Make sure those buckets don't consume 100% of that. And then figure out the bucket of how much do you want to save for your rainy day and save for your longer term investment. Settle on that first, high level.
And rainy day
Then
funds are
see,
really important because we have emergencies that crop up from time to time that we can never forecast.
yeah, I got an example. I had to go to bring my wife to the doctor today, and it's a charge that my health insurance doesn't cover that I had to be able to kind of
Ouch.
pay, and it didn't cover. So there's things like that. It could be a flat tire or unexpected travel. Yeah, it's just as
I had
critical.
my roof a couple of months ago, torrential rainfall, the roof gave way. Yeah, that was not fun.
I've had that experience this year as well.
Yeah, it's not fun when that happens. It's the last thing you want, and especially in the current environment whereby tradesmen, they jack their prices up sky high. I almost had
Yep.
an injury when they told me the price for that one.
Yes, I know it's awful, but it's something you have to do. You can't put off, and so knowing the different products you can use in each of those areas, and so if you look at your housing, if you say it's going to be 20% of your budget, and there's tools out there or other experts that say guidance and don't spend more than X% on any of these areas, but given where you live at, where you work at, can you afford that? Do you maybe need to spend more? Because if you're living in New York City, maybe you need to spend more than say 20% on your housing. Maybe it needs to be 35 and you trim in other areas. So start high level and then you can work on what options to take in managing the other areas. And so it's then boils into that's planning. Then you always need to track what are you actually doing? What is your kind of like an accounting? I plan to forecast in a business. I'm going to spend 100,000 a year. What am I actually spending? You don't want to wait to the end of the year. You use certain budget things you want to check on weekly and track weekly and see how you're doing.
It's a bit like projects and running, company
Yep.
budgets. You're essentially setting a budget and reviewing it on yourself, and the projected versus the actuals.
Correct. Because sometimes you all of a sudden have too much fun, and next thing you know, you're looking at your checking account, and you're like, "Wow, I over did it in a certain area, and I need to adjust."
That is very true. That is very true. And as you say, there are quite a few tools out there now to do it. I mean, I know some of the banks here in the UK, they'll automatically round a transaction up to the next whole number. So obviously here we use pounds and stuff. So, if you spent £3.55 or £3.65, they'd round it up to £4. And they'll take that extra, 35, 45 pence and they'll put it into a savings account for you.
Right. And different employers allow you to maybe deposit your funds in more than one account
Yep.
automatically, or if they don't, have automatic transactions. You know when you get paid, take that amount that you've allocated for your rainy day funds and move it over instantaneously. Maybe
Yep.
take and your strategy might be in the short term to where you don't have those rainy day cash, liquid assets. You might have other credit abilities like a credit card or things like know that it can be useful for that because you don't want to go into your long-term fund that can have different tax implications and to pay something off. And you might not want to risk uh, paying or cashing out maybe your crypto where you envision a longer term or might have tax consequences that you want to,
Yep.
use the credit card, but use it wisely. Make sure you're maintaining that ability.
Yes. And use it very carefully. I unfortunately know several people who didn't pay off their credit cards at all, or even slightly, and got hit with massive interest and such. It's a spiral that can be very difficult to get out of.
Correct. It can be a downhill spiral, but they're a tool like in your toolbox, just like if you're a developer or work in tech. There's different tools that have different usefulness that work on different, frequencies and for different purposes.
Indeed. So if you think of your journey to date, and obviously, the various things you've gone through, what do you think the one point, from a financial point of view and stuff, the one thing that has really stood you in favor overall?
Um,
Whether it's a specific
Education.
tool or just something, or
Just seeking out general education, so one, I had a lucky ability to when I grew up, my one of my parents worked in banking, just kind of
okay,
in a branch location, so new banking terminology. Then one of my first IT jobs, well, actually, when I was in college, I worked as a bank teller as well for a brief stint. I was horrible at that, and I had to kind of give my resignation because I could not add and subtract on a daily basis. I just wanted to talk to people. It is, for some reason I couldn't do things correctly, but I've learned there's things I'm good at and things I'm not good at. Then down the road, I worked in a software company that focused on in financial area that was for call center for banks, and so always knowing that terminology. But the main thing is seeking out and learning these things for yourselves. Carve
got
out
it.
the time to learn about what are the different investment options and opportunities you have and learn about them. And just have conversations with your friends about them because like tech, the more you talk about anything, the more you discuss, confirm your own knowledge, and maybe learn from others their insights about those products and offerings and capabilities.
Brilliant. That is very true. Well, Aaron, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
It's been absolutely great. Viewers, we hope that you've enjoyed hearing about Cajun cooking and also about the importance of being financially stable. Very important in everybody's life. Feel free to check out the rest of the Oops Factor playlist, subscribe to the channel, take a look at the blog. And if you would like to come on, hit the link, which is somewhere below, put in your details, and I'd love to have you on the show. But above all, have a wonderful day.